everybody, welcome back to Tomcat Airguns. Today we're going to take a look at the UTG Pro TBNR bipod. This is a 7 to 9 inch bipod with a retail price around $160 and the weight comes in at about 18.3 ounces. Now UTG is known for making accessories for rifles. I've got 3 of their bipods right here. This is one I just recently did. And so you can go over to leapers.com if you want to check out their bipods or any of the other accessories that they make. They've been doing it for a while. They have a lot of different styles, and this one caught my eye with its all metal construction, and just it kind of stood out to me. It works in a little bit different ways, and I'll show you those here in a second. The TBNR is going to attach to your rifle via Picatinny rail. This one here has a thumb screw on, well, it's a hex head screw, but really it's big enough to where I would call it a thumb screw. So you're just going to screw that on and attach it to your rifle that way. The legs do go forward and back in the stowed position. They also have 45 degrees forward and back as well as 90. And the legs will extend out as well. It looks like to be about 2 inches, maybe a little bit more than 2 inches. The feet are metal, not rubber like you usually get. However, they do have a ball detent right here. Push that ball detent, take the leg out, and you can use something like an Atlas foot in place of this. So if you need rubber feet, you can go over to Atlas, get some rubber feet, and put it right on this, and it's going to fit just fine. This bipod also has tilt and pan, and that's controlled by this lever back here. It's a typical ball and socket type of design on this one. As I mentioned, this attaches to your rifle via Picatinny rail by tightening down this nut right here. You want to make sure when you attach this to your rifle to have your tensioning lever face the shooter. So find a spot for this, put it up right there, and give this guy a little twist and lock it in place. In order to get a little more tension on this and really lock it to the rifle, you could use a wrench, put a wrench on there and put a little tightening on it. Or if you have an Allen key handy, it's got 2 little holes in it. There's one right there. And you can actually put that Allen key in there and get a little more tension on there and really lock it in place. In order to adjust the legs for position, this is where it gets kind of unique. This has a little locking lever right here, this little guy right here. So you have to push that in to unlock the system, and then you pull down on the leg right here, and it'll go into the next position. Okay, so it's kind of a 2-part thing there. Push down and pull down. And then you can go to your next position. Not bad. 360 degrees of swivel. It seems like it's pretty loose right now too. So yeah, hopefully I can, yeah, that tightens it up a little bit. In order to tighten up for tilt and swivel, you've got this lever on the back. It's got a little plus and a little minus on it. So more tension, you're going to push against like that. Less, obviously, is going to go the other way. As you can see, it won't lock it out. And it seems kind of weak to me already, but we'll see how it does later on the bench. Extending the legs is pretty unique too, because instead of just pulling them out, as a lot of them do, or you pull down on something and undo the leg, these you give them a twist. You pull them out as far as you want, and then you twist them back, and they're going to lock in place that way. Furthermore, this collar right here, you can lock that in, and that's going to lock your legs in place from getting bumped or whatever. You can't twist them anymore once you lock this collar in. So kind of a couple of different steps here. They do have specific spots that they're going to extend to, so they're not infinitely adjustable. And one more thing to note is you're going to spin the legs the same direction. Okay, so it's not to the right on the right side and to the left on the left side or anything like that. Same direction, and there you go. With a quick snap of the fingers, you can get these to retract all the way in. While I got you here, here's a close-up look at the metal feet on this. They do have a little bit of knurling on the outside. I do have a little bit of slop in this system. Here it is right here. And it seems to me as though this is coming from right here in this area where this little tab goes into the slot for the leg positioning. Yeah, it's actually not even right here. It's more in the leg itself where that slop's coming from. And if we extend the legs out, I've got just a minute amount of slop in there as well. And if I lock the leg in place, it takes away some of that slop. It takes away most of that slop, but not all of it. I gotta tell you guys, holding this in my hand, it feels very sturdy, very strong bipod. I mean, all metal construction, so you know it's got some strength behind it, but it's just got some weight to it, and it just feels solid to me. But looks can be deceiving. Let's see how it performs. All right, guys, here we are at the bench rest position. I think this position is pretty important since so much shooting is done from the bench. Let's see how the features work. So straight out of the gate, let's say I have to overcome for a little bit of a tilt adjustment. Can I do that? Oh yeah, that's real easy. Let's tighten down on this lever, and that's better. That's gonna, for most bench rest shooting, that's gonna want to hold you in place. Now if you have a large caliber rifle, every shot might throw this off a little bit because there's no way to lock this out. Additionally, one of the weaknesses of this bipod is going to be this forward and aft tilt. In all my tests, it always seems to be a problem when this feature is part of the bipod. I wish they would just get rid of that altogether, but if you're excited and you're shooting and you're leaning into it, and then all of a sudden, boom, you stop. It's like every shot, you're going to adjust your aim just a little bit, you're going to wonder what's going on, and then all of a sudden you're leaned into your rifle, and now your accuracy's hitting. So that's something that you might want to take out of your equation right away. Just lean into it and get that flexibility out of there. Now this lever is locked in almost as much as I can get it, and there is a fair amount of resistance here, but I do wish there was more. One thing I will say about this is that all these motions, this forward, aft, the tilt, probably even the pan, let me loosen this up a little bit. It's really tight. Yeah, even the pan feature, everything is really smooth. Just shy of glass smooth, but it's really, really like, it's greasy smooth. Moving on to adjusting the legs position, this has that unique system of a push and a pull. And it's different. It's a little awkward for me. I'm not used to this system. So it's something to get used to, but I think what it amounts to is the little button here has a little shelf on it, and I think using that as a reference point, okay, I'm on that shelf, push into the bipod, now pull down a little bit, and then you're good to go. It's just using that as a reference point just is going to take a little bit of getting used to. The side of the shooter, it's always going to be easier. Adjusting the legs is not difficult. Just don't let go of them too fast or they'll snap back into place. So that is one thing that you do have to be careful of, is making sure that they don't snap back in place. So you want to take your time with that and do it purposefully. Like twist the leg, pull it out to wherever you need it to be, and then twist it back into place. If you're afraid of it coming loose, that's when this collar is going to come in handy, and you're going to lock that in place or leave it unlocked, depending on what you're doing. Next up, let's see if I can correct for a full leg extension. Can I tilt back to level? And I can tell you just by looking at it, that's not level. Maybe one less notch on the leg. Nope, that's not there either. 2 notches. Okay, so about half of my leg extension I can correct for, which amounts to about this much leg height, and I would say that's about 1.25 inches, maybe 1.5 inches. So here we are outside, guys. The first test I'm going to do is called loading the rifle. So when you've got an object such as this, you're going to put your bipod legs against it, and you're going to lean into your rifle, and that helps to maintain accuracy and stay on target. Before I do that though, I want to mention that this rifle's been checked. The magazine is not loaded, there's no bullets in the area, gun's on safe, and we're not going to be shooting anything today. So bring the rifle up and lean into it. And I knew this was going to be an issue right away, this forward and aft slop thing. Once it's taken up though, the rifle's pretty solid. I have the ability to pan left and right, but unfortunately, since the base runs into the clamping system, I've lost my ability to overcome any kind of tilt option. I'll bring you in close for a closer look. So here we are, guys, and real quick before I get into loading the rifle, I'll do a little slop test here, and you can see a little bit of dance going on here with the slop. So that's the button inside the leg jiggling this way and that way. So I come in, I load my rifle, take up my slop, and here I go. Now this is where I'm losing my tilt feature, is the bottom of this running into the top of the base, and panning is nice and smooth. And you guys can see this lever's at the kind of the halfway, a little past halfway mark. That is a lot of tension on there. I'm really trying to lock this in, and it's not going to lock in. So it gives me a little bit of tension. If I needed an extreme angle shot, I'd come up like this. And you can see that the legs are going to, since the height of this is so tall, it's going to end up on the smooth part of the leg here. And that's not really going to do a whole lot of good for me. The metal wants to bite into this wood, but unfortunately I'm pressing here, so it kind of gets a little bit slippery for an extreme angle shot, but that's kind of a rare thing. Another way to shoot is called reverse loading. It's when you're pulling back on the rifle. It's just like loading in, except in the reverse direction. And it's going to be a lot of the same stuff. This actually allows me a little bit of tilt, and maybe it's because I'm not leaning into it so hard, but I do have a little bit of tilt this way. Next up, I'm going to take a look at the Barricade shot, but before I do, the clamping system has loosened up on me already, so I'm going to take this back to the shop and actually put a wrench on this to really tighten it down and lock it onto the rifle. I guess the Allen key trick didn't quite work out. So I'm back from tightening up my clamp, and when I put a wrench on this, granted it had already come loose, but I was able to get about 3/4 of a turn using a wrench. So that's something you want to consider with this, is you might want to always use a wrench if you're going to lock it onto a rifle and need to count on it and not have it come loose on you. Let's take a look at a Barricade shot. So when you've got, say, a hole in a wall such as this, or you're going to come up on a ledge of a wall and use it as a brace point. I've seen guys do it with the legs forward, but it really is uncomfortable and it kind of sucks, so I'm not going to do that. So we'll come in, make sure we're on our bipod, and lean into the rifle, and it's solid, as I kind of expected, because it's hitting on the base right here on the clamp system, and that's just going to transfer all that weight straight into the Picatinny rail, so it's going to be a solid platform. I'm not sliding back and forth with it, so it's pretty good. Up here on the ledge, it's going to be the exact same thing. I can lean back and forth side to side, and it's biting into the wood somehow. It's biting into the wood, but it's really just transferring any kind of forward pressure straight up through that pick rail. As far as using the bipod for a handle, I wouldn't use it. I wouldn't do it with this one because of all of this kind of 360-degree type of slop. You don't want to be shooting and then have this moving as you're shooting. It's not going to work out well for you. Additionally, if I wanted to use this on a post like this as a brace point, I can come in with my leg and brace up, but I have to hold it here. Otherwise, you're going to push and it's going to wrap right around on you. All right, guys, so here we are in the prone position. Once I take up my my forward aft slop, I can lean in a little bit. On this surface, this is the Trex decking. This is really slippery, and it's kind of leaving scratch marks in my deck too, but the feet are really slippery on here. I wish they were rubber straight from the factory, but we're getting metal with this, so that's what I'm trying out. Adjusting the legs for height is a lot like the bench. It's actually pretty easy. It's not that bad at all. I can lock those in place and get back to shooting at a higher level. So not bad. If I need to adjust for tilt, well, that's when I've got this, this forward aft thing giving me issues. And if I come back a little bit, then I can adjust for any kind of tilt. But as soon as I move forward, there you go. It's going to roll that tilt right out of the gun, and you're going to end up at level to the legs. So guys, as far as sitting and kneeling goes, this is just a short bipod. It wasn't really meant for it unless maybe you've got something like this that you can take up some of that distance on. My next series of movements is meant to illustrate using this bipod in a more rushed and stressful environment, such as competition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with both legs stowed position, and then I'm going to bring them down to 90 degrees, simulated 2 barricade shots. Extend the legs out all the way for 2 simulated prone shots. Retract the legs, put them to 45 degrees, and simulate 2 bench rest shots. Let's see how we do. I have a feeling that I'm going to struggle with this bipod quite a bit because these features are kind of small, hard to get to type of adjustments, and with this twisting leg motion, it's going to be a little bit awkward for me to use it. So just something I'm going to have to deal with, and we'll see how we do. In 3, 2, 1, go. Legs at 90. Okay, and pop, pop. Extend the legs out all the way, and pop, pop. Now for 45 degrees, snap the fingers, and pop, pop. Yeah, it's a kind of a struggle to deal with that. Plus, my bipod's kind of crooked now because I can't get rid of this 360 degree swivel. There's no lockout to it. So let me try it again and see how we do. In 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, 90 degrees on both legs, and pop, pop. Extend the legs all the way, and pop, pop. Snap them, 45 degrees, almost, and pop, pop, pop. Yeah, it's this would definitely take some time to get used to using this system, and I don't think this is a bipod that's made for a rushed and hurried style of environment. This is more for a calm and relaxing style of shooting. Starting off, I'm going to hit the biggest con right away, and that is my inability to lock out this tilt and pan feature. Additionally, this forward aft tilt thing drives me absolutely nuts because it takes away, once you load in, it takes away all your tilt. So even though you advertise for tilt, if you load in, you don't get it. So that's a huge negative in my book. And the fact that I can't get enough tension to lock these out, and I'm not talking about a mechanical style of lock, I'm just saying I want this rifle to fight moving back and forth, and it doesn't take much tension for me to do this tilting right here. So in the heat of the moment, if I'm shooting competitively, I might start to tilt my rifle, unintentionally, and it's going to start throwing my shots off. It's surprising that I can't get enough leverage on this since I have a tensioning lever, and it's giving me all this added force. Not only that, but I'm using my hand like a clamp, and I'm just squeezing the heck out of this thing trying to get enough out of it. I'm just not getting it. So it's a huge downside to this one. And it's surprising for a $160 bipod. I would have expected something like that to not be an issue. On the pro side, you do get an all-metal bipod that really does feel strong and sturdy, and I don't think you're going to have to worry about it breaking or anything like that. The leg extensions are different for me, definitely different. This is the only bipod I've seen that has this kind of twist method to it, and what's happening is there's a little groove right here, and these little grooves are just settling in on this set screw right here. So this system can't be defeated. If I was to, lean on it and try to break that leg and make it retract, it's not going to do it. It's a mechanical style of a lock. While this system is different and awkward for me to use, I think over time, someone that's using this bipod for a while, they could become very proficient with this system, and it could be very quick for them. Additionally, on the leg extension part, I love that there's a spring in here retracting that leg. that is definitely a positive in my book. After all the reviews I've done on bipods, that's something that helps. Metal feet. I like that they're interchangeable. Nice job there, because I don't know why you would just start with metal feet instead of just doing rubber. It's like the whole industry is doing rubber feet, but on this one, it's metal feet. So I kind of disagree with the makeup of that, and I would have liked to seen rubber feet on here, like the Atlas. You know, they fit right in there. So kind of like a both pro and con type of deal right there. As far as leg positioning goes, this is not a fast system right here. Unless you really, really work with it and really get used to using it, it's going to slow you down. It's, I almost want to say tedious, you know, it's finicky or tedious. It's like you have to move these small little bits in order to unlock the system so that it can be used, and even that is a very fine little movement that you have to make there. So, you know, bravo to UTG for thinking of a different system, but I don't even understand why you'd have the little lock in there so you don't bump it loose. Okay, maybe. There's probably another way around that though. As far as slop goes, this one's pretty impressive. There is really not a lot of slop in there in that system, and it's one of the better models that I've seen in regards to slop. Overall, my impression of this, guys, well, that's a rough one. You know, at 160 bucks, I don't think I should be worried about this. This kills it for me. And it's not so much having like a lockout feature as much as it's about not being able to get enough tension on the system. This is weak. This is not hard to do. Tilt it back and forth right here. It's really not. And for that price tag, I need better performance out of this. So I'm sorry, I can't stand behind it at 160 bucks. It's just, I think we can do better. So guys, that's all I've got for you on the TBNR bipod from UTG. If you need more information about it, you can head on over to leapers.com, and that's going to give you information on this bipod as well as all the other UTG accessories that they make. As a quick reminder, I'm on Airgun 101 now, so head on over there to check out my other videos and other bipod reviews, as well as other videos from other top-notch shooters from around the world. If you'd like to send me a donation for the maintenance and continuation of my channel, I'd really appreciate it. You can do that by simply going to paypal.me/Tomcat Airguns. As always, guys, thanks for watching and happy shooting. Hey everybody, welcome back to Tomcat Airguns. What we're gonna all right, that didn't work. Hey everybody. Hey everybody. Hey everybody, welcome back to Tomcat Airguns. Today we're going to take a look at the UTG Pro TBNR bipod from Leapers. These are metal feet bottom. These feet have metal bottoms on them. This bipod also has a tensioning lever right here. In order to adjust the legs for position, this guy's overall,